Jürgen Habermas was born June 18, 1929. He is a German philosopher who is best known for being the author of the theory of communicative action. He was a prominent member of the Frankfurt School, a school of social and critical theory which inhabited intellectuals who were often dissatisfied with the contemporary socio-economic systems of the 1930s. In 1962, Habermas released his book, The Structural Transformation of the Public Sphere. In his book, he discusses the development of the public sphere. By public sphere, we mean, first of all, a realm of our social life in which something approaching public opinion can be formed. Access is guaranteed to all citizens. In his book, Habermas describes a world in which public opinion is heavily influenced by how decisions were made. In the 18th century, the bourgeoisie were the public sphere, people who had influence on society. Before the weakening of monarchical powers, which was at its peak during the French Revolution, mostly higher powers, such as royals, were to decide on public affairs. However, Habermas describes a public sphere of the 1930s to 60s, a public sphere that includes the poor and uneducated. The public sphere as a sphere, which mediates between society and the state in which the public organises itself, as the bearer of public opinion. An example of how we see the public sphere in modern media is the Channel 4 popular show Gogglebox. Gogglebox fits the mediated public sphere category, as it takes ordinary viewers to comment on television shows. These expressions of opinion make the entire show. Gogglebox also taps into the culture of modern television and its consumption. You can argue that Gogglebox yet appears as a discussion and opinion-based show. However, it's the producers that ultimately make the show. It's the editing that confirms the ultimate conclusion of the show that they are watching. As well as that, the audience have no opportunity to disagree with the show or the characters in the show. Executive producer David MacDonald states that he likes the cast to be well crafted. Most of their jokes and humour and pathos stems from their character. They're not trying to be smart arses, they're just trying to be who they are, and that's what makes them funny. As consumerism and mass media developed further into the 20th century, the lines between private and public sphere became blurred as there was no interaction between readers and editors within mainstream media entertainment. Habermas highlights the public sphere as a fundamental mechanism of democracy, the sphere that is a base of democratic debate, quality, and rationality. The public sphere was heavily influenced by social status in the 18th century, but as mass communications and mass media comes forth into recent decades and access to the internet becomes common, the public sphere only broadens as people from any social status, education, and background can add to the public opinion and public affairs. Daniel C. Hallin was born June 1953, and he is a professor of communications at the University of California, San Diego. He is best known for his book, The Uncensored War, The Media and Vietnam. This book is a scholarly study of Vietnam's war coverage. Hallin discovers that in the 10 years' worth of news coverage he studies, that the American news coverage system was heavily objective when reporting the Vietnam War. In other words, the news was very pro-America. Therefore, Hallin's sphere is a theory of news reporting and its rhetorical framing, most specifically during the Vietnam War. But it has become widely accepted across the political spectrum that the relation between media and the government during the Vietnam War was in fact one of conflict. The media contradicted the more positive view of the war officials sought to the project, and for better or for worse. It was the journalist view that prevailed with the public, whose disenchantment forced to end American involvement. Hallin's sphere that deals with the media is similar to the Overton window, which deals with public opinion and posits a sliding scale of public opinion on any given issue ranging from conventional wisdom to acceptable. Examples of these kinds of subjects include climate change, animal rights, and Brexit. This theory comes from the American policy analyst Joseph Overton, born in 1960. He stated, "An idea's political viability depends mainly on whether it falls within this range, rather than on politicians' individual preferences." The Overton window also helps the way political scientists analyze in which way the news enters the news. A recent example of how the Overton window can be seen is the actions of COVID-19. As COVID-19 became a mainstream concern at the beginning of 2020, the Overton window was seen when referring to the government's demands from the public. Ideas previously considered unthinkable, like social distancing, are becoming policies that people accept. According to Noam Chomsky's 1998 book, The Common Good, he states, "The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow a very lively debate within that spectrum. Even encourage the more critical and dissident views. That gives people the sense there's free thinking going on, while all the time there's presuppositions of the system are being reinforced by the limits put on the range of the debate. Therefore, the Overton window is always changing when considering the current political climate of that time."